Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for August 29th through September 4th. This week I read 3 books, I watched 2 shows, I watched 4 movies, and I listened to 3 books. It's amazing the difference between driving every day and staying in one place for a week as to how much you can read and watch and listen to. The first thing I read this week is 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act by Bob Joseph. This is essential Canadian reading. Everyone who's grown up in Canada to this point knows to varying degrees our history. And even if you think you know our history, it's often been sanitized to the point where you would be shocked to know some of the things that you will find out in this book. I knew some of these things ahead of time, some of them I was not surprised by. You just really need to read it. You need to know about this part of our history, especially if we are going to reconcile what this country has done to the Indigenous population. The next thing I read was actually a short story, and it was the perfect time for it to come in because I was actually just about to start rereading the duology for which it is a short story. It was called Bonker Doesn't Die, and it's about April May, the main character from An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, being at VidCon and using her past as a pet detective to find a small pig that has gone missing at the convention. This was a lot of fun for me to read because I've been to VidCon actually a few times. I've actually met Hank Green at VidCon a couple of times. So it's fun to kind of picture the convention center in my head as I'm picturing April May go through all these different things to try to find this teacup pig and all of the drama that was going on behind the scenes of VidCon. I really much enjoyed it for that. It was also something that he had considered putting into the book and then was ultimately cut, so it was nice to see this kind of behind the scenes thing about the book because I also read the first 6 chapters of the book when he started writing the book, and they were very different from the chapters that you would get in the actual finished book. This is not something you can buy anywhere. This was a perk for Project for Awesome, which is the yearly charity thing that he and John do every December, I believe it is. So if you want to read it for yourself, I don't know how you're going to do that because it was a perk for that specific thing. So maybe look up Project for Awesome and see if you can still get perks for it. That means that the other book I read this week was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. If you've never heard of this one, I absolutely love it. I'm rereading it for Sci-Fi September and also for Demonathon, although the second book will count for my Demonathon score and not this one. This book is about April May, a 23-year-old designer who one day leaves the office super late and runs into this statue on the sidewalk in New York and is like, hey, a cool statue, and is about to continue on and then realizes that no, this is actually something remarkable and very cool and people should pay attention to this. So she calls up her best friend Andy and gets him to come down at 3 o'clock in the morning to shoot this YouTube video, and by the time she wakes up in the morning, it has gone viral because not only is there this one statue, there's 63 other statues exactly like it all around the world that appeared all at the same time, and nobody knows why. What I really like about this book, besides the imaginative sci-fi elements, is knowing that so much of Hank's personal online thought process has gone into it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So he's had to deal with internet fame, he's had to deal with Twitter, he has had to deal with a lot of things that come up in this, either directly or indirectly through friends who have gone through the same things. So I very much enjoyed seeing it funneled into this book. On to what I watched this week, the first one being The Final Table. This is a cooking show on Netflix, and I watched all 10 episodes of it because we were in the same place for a week and we have a TV with Netflix and I didn't have to watch it on my laptop. What's interesting about this cooking competition is there isn't a prize other than bragging rights, really. You get the bragging rights to say that you are the best of the 24 chefs competing. And you started in teams of 2. I believe there were 12 teams of 2. It might have been 14. I don't remember. And every week the chefs had to prepare the signature cuisine dish for a certain country and then have judges from that country judge their dish. Then in the very final episode, you were no longer in teams. It was just 4 people working all against each other, and they had to do their own signature dish. I found it really fun. I love cooking shows, even though I can't eat most of the things that you see on cooking shows. That means the other show I watched, of course, was the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, and I'm not going to wreck it for you in case you haven't watched it yet, but obviously it was a tough decision because everybody was really, really great at the end of this, and I'm okay with who won. I think I would have been okay with any of them being picked, but this person was one of my personal top 2. This week I also finally got around to watching the Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home because I accidentally saw the trailer, was accidentally a little bit spoiled for something that happens at the end of the second movie, and figured it's time that I finally watched them. For whatever reason, even though I grew up loving Spider-Man, I used to watch the TV show when I was a kid, and I loved the Tobey Maguire movies when I was in high school, I never got around to watching any of the other Spider-Man movies after that, so I haven't seen the Andrew Garfield movies. I believe there's 2 of them, and I hadn't seen these ones yet, but I knew I was going to want to see the 3rd one come December when it comes out, so here we are. I thought that these were really amusing. The sarcasm of Spider-Man was definitely there, and I was also very amused at the end of the first one to realize that John Francis Daley, who I know from Bones, who played Sweets, who left the show so he could write screenplays, actually was one of the writers on that screenplay, so it was just nice to see his name again. I wasn't super jazzed that they changed MJ's first name for no reason, but I understand that they were trying to go for some form of reveal, which I guess is fine. I really liked both of these movies, and I'm obviously looking forward to the 3rd one. After that, we decided to watch a movie, and we picked it based on the cast alone, and then I really wish we hadn't bothered to waste our time with it. It was The Dead Don't Die. Apparently this director is just known for making really terrible movies, and the actors that are in them just like making really terrible movies, because that's what this was. It was a zombie movie, but the acting was bad. There was no reason for people to think it was zombies. There was like a half-assed reason as to why there were zombies. It was mostly you trying to watch it to figure out which famous person is now a zombie, I think would have been the most interesting thing, because it was really slow and not my favorite thing. The other movie we watched was The Hustle. This stars Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, and it was about these 2 con artists basically trying to out-con each other so they could figure out who was going to stay in one of their home turfs. It was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed watching this movie because they play off each other really, really well, and there were a lot of very, very funny moments. There was even a moment at the end of the movie that I was like, oh, I really hope they bring this moment back from the beginning, and they did, and it was just wonderful. And yeah, so if you're looking for a funny heist kind of movie, then this one is definitely one to watch. First audiobook I listened to this week was Every Vow You Break. This is about a woman who is just about to get married, and she goes away on her bachelorette weekend and then ends up accidentally sleeping with somebody else. And she doesn't tell her husband to be about it. She ends up realizing that that was a huge mistake. She doesn't want to see that guy ever again. And then she gets married, goes on her honeymoon, and sees that guy on the very secluded island where they're on their honeymoon. This one was interesting because it had a lot of twists and turns, and I honestly didn't want to stop listening to it. I wanted to power through to find out what was going to happen because you didn't know who you could trust, what was going to go on, how she was going to get out of this situation, anything like that, and it kept me really on the edge of my seat, which is why I very much enjoyed it. The next audiobook was actually a short story, and it was called A Softness of the Heart. This was actually available on the Fantasy Magazine website, and it was the short story that was the group read for this round of Demonathon. This one was very short and cute, and I won't tell you everything about it because it's a short story. It doesn't take that long. I believe it was only about 15 minutes. But it's about this girl who lives with one aunt, and the other aunt has recently passed, and their house is known to be haunted, and there's a whole situation to do with that. I thought it was cute. I thought it was sweet. It's definitely worth a listen or a read because you can do either one of those things on the website. The final thing I listened to this week was a reread for me, and that was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Again, this was a reread for me for both Sci-Fi September because I wanted something with time travel, and also for Demonathon because I think this was my comfort read. If I can remember which prompt for Demonathon I picked this for, I believe it was that one. This one is Casey's sophomore novel, and it takes place all in New York City. It is a love letter to both New York and also these 2 queer women who improbably find each other. One of them has just moved to New York, and one of them has been stuck on the subway system since the 1970s and just doesn't know it. I absolutely love this book. There were moments where I was listening to it and I was like eating chips, and out of nowhere I almost started crying, and I was like, I'm not gonna start crying right now because Chad's gonna come out of the bathroom and wonder why I'm crying as I'm just sitting in bed eating chips. So I had to stop that impulse. Yeah, there are just moments of this that definitely just punch you right in the gut. And I absolutely love this book. I think I'm going to end up loving everything that Casey McQuiston ever puts out. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal or my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!